I was lost in thought. The alien woman turned to me and smiled. So you like my body? Dr. Elias Vance had been walking for hours through the strange, glowing plains of planet Lyrana 5. The sky above shimmered in pale green and violet streaks, like auroras frozen in time. The air was thick but breathable, filled with the faint scent of sweet minerals and damp earth. Towering plants with translucent leaves swayed gently, reflecting the light of three suns. Some of the flowers were taller than Elias himself, glowing softly in hues he could not name. He stopped and knelt beside one of them. Its petals were semi-transparent, showing veins that pulsed like they had a heartbeat. Elias ran his fingers along the soft surface, fascinated. He scribbled notes in his digital pad, muttering to himself. The vascular structure is more complex than expected. The energy distribution seems conscious, almost like it's thinking. Time passed differently here. Minutes became hours, or maybe hours were just minutes. He couldn't tell. His mind was full of equations and hypotheses. Every color, every shape seemed to tell a story he wanted to understand. He was so absorbed that he didn't hear the sound of movement behind him. Lost in thought again, Dr. Vance? Elias jumped and spun around. There was no one there. The sound had been soft, melodic, almost like a song. He looked up and froze. Standing just a few meters away was a being unlike anything he had ever seen. She was tall, taller than a human, with long limbs that moved with grace. Her skin shimmered, like liquid silver catching the light of the suns. Her eyes were large, deep, and golden, glowing faintly. She had no hair as humans knew it, but her head was crowned with soft, flexible tendrils that waved gently in the breeze. She smiled at him, a warm, knowing smile that made his chest tighten. I didn't see you," Elias stammered, backing up slightly. His training in first contact situations kicked in, reminding him to stay calm. She tilted her head, her glowing eyes studying him. "So you like my body?" she asked, her voice musical as if every word carried a note. Elias blinked. His mind raced. Body? Her body. Did she mean he was used to careful scientific observation, not casual questions like this from an alien? He tried to respond, but no words came out. She laughed softly. It was not mocking, but amused. "Do not worry, I do not mean what you think." Elias exhaled, embarrassed. I'm sorry. Your species looks at form in a limited way," she said, stepping closer. Her movements were smooth, almost like floating. "We mean body as presence, energy, and life. You appreciate it, do you not?" Elias blinked. He had studied alien communication for years, read reports, watched simulations, but nothing prepared him for this moment. Slowly he realized she was not asking about attraction or appearance. She was asking about observation, about noticing the details of her existence. "Yes," he said, finally finding his voice. I study life, I observe it, I notice patterns." Her eyes brightened. "Good. Then we may understand each other." She moved closer to the flowers, brushing a tendril over a glowing petal. "You see, life is all around you, even here. Most species miss it. They look, but they do not observe." Elias took a careful step forward, fascinated. You can see that I observe." "I can see much more than that," she said, her smile widening. "You notice the pulse of energy, the flow of life. That is rare." The alien woman, he did not know her name, gestured to the landscape. "Come, there is much to show you." Elias hesitated. His instincts warned him to be cautious. Any new species could be dangerous. Yet something in her eyes and her presence disarmed him. Curiosity, the same drive that had sent humanity across galaxies, pushed him forward. As he followed her through the glowing plains, Elias could not stop looking at her. Every movement seemed to ripple the air around her, subtle distortions of light and shadow. The flowers bent slightly as they passed, as if bowing to her presence. "So you like my body," she said again, this time with a teasing note. "And yet you do not understand it fully. You see form, but not essence." "I want to understand," he said honestly. "I study, I observe, I try to see what others cannot." Her eyes glimmered. "Then you are like us in a small way. Curiosity is rare in your species. Most look, but they do not see. You see." They walked for hours, though Elias could not be sure how long. The landscape shifted subtly, the glow of the plants changing with their passage. Some of the flora reached toward them, their translucent leaves brushing his arms. He could feel faint electrical pulses, almost like the plants were communicating. "You notice them?" she said, nodding toward the plants. "Yes, you notice the subtle signals. Good. You will need this skill." "Need it for what?" Elias asked, feeling a mix of excitement and unease. She paused by a cluster of tall, spiral-shaped trees. There are many forms of life here, many energies. Not all are friendly to intruders. Elias frowned. Are there dangerous ones? Danger is relative, she replied, smiling. Some energies do not welcome others, but you may pass where others cannot, because you notice, you observe, you understand. He nodded, trying to absorb everything. This planet, this life, it was beyond anything he had imagined. And this alien, she was unlike anything in human records. She led him to a small clearing where the ground shimmered like liquid glass. Sit, she said, and Elias did. He looked around, trying to understand what this place was. This is a place of reflection, she explained. Here you may see more than just what is in front of you. Life speaks in many forms. You listen, yes. Elias nodded, feeling a strange calm. He closed his eyes and focused on the hum of the plants, the subtle vibrations in the air, the faint pulsing of light under the surface. Slowly he began to notice patterns he had not seen before, tiny shifts in color, faint rhythmic movements, a harmony of energy connecting the life around him. You see, she said softly, sitting across from him, the body is not just shape, it is energy, intention, presence. It is the song of life itself. Elias opened his eyes and looked at her. I think I understand. Her smile widened. Good, then you may learn more, but first you must pass a small test. A test? He asked, puzzled. Yes, she said. A test of observation and understanding. Not of strength or weapon, of perception. Are you ready? Elias' heart raced. He had trained for exploration, for first contact, for diplomacy, but he had never faced a challenge like this, yet he nodded. Yes, I am ready. She stood and extended her hand. Then follow me. The city awaits. Elias hesitated for only a moment. Then, driven by curiosity and the human desire to know the unknown, he took her hand. As they walked, the landscape around them began to shift. Towers of bioluminescent crystal rose from the ground, spiraling toward the sky. Strange bridges of light connected them. Creatures of soft energy floated above the surface, observing them with gentle curiosity. Elias' mind raced. Everything he had seen on Lyrana 5 until now had been astonishing, but this was beyond comprehension. The alien woman glanced at him, her glowing eyes twinkling. Do not be afraid. Here you will learn, and perhaps you will teach us something in return. Elias felt a thrill of excitement. Humanity had always been explorers, but this, meeting a living, thinking, radiant species, was more than exploration. It was discovery in its purest form. He looked at her and smiled. I hope I can, she smiled back. I know you can. Humans, you surprise us more than you know. And with that, they entered the glowing city, Elias stepping into a world that would challenge everything he thought he knew about life, intelligence, and the universe itself. The alien woman led Elias through the city of glowing towers. The structures were unlike anything he had ever seen. They seemed alive, their surfaces pulsing with soft light that shifted in color and intensity. Bridges made of sparkling energy arched gracefully between towers, and soft, humming creatures floated along the pathways, almost like living lanterns. Elias walked carefully, trying to take in everything. His mind raced with questions. How can this place exist? How can life thrive in forms I can barely comprehend? And how does this alien, understand so much about me already? Pay attention, she said, her voice musical and calm. Here, everything matters. Every movement, every sound, every thought, there is meaning if you know how to see it. Elias nodded. I will try. She stopped in front of a large platform. It was made of a smooth, crystalline surface that reflected the glowing sky above. Lines of shifting light ran across it like rivers, forming patterns that changed with every second. This, she said, is your first challenge. You must understand it. Elias frowned. Understand it how? Not by force, not by guessing. You must observe, learn, adapt. He stepped closer. The platform felt cool under his feet, though it pulsed faintly, almost like it was breathing. The light rivers moved in intricate patterns, forming shapes that seemed to flow into each other. Sometimes they split, sometimes they merged. Elias' first instinct was to map it, to write equations and try to decode it mathematically. But he quickly realized that numbers alone would not help. He took a deep breath, remembering the lessons from the alien woman. Observation, not judgment. Perception, not assumption. He let his mind calm and focused only on the flow of light. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. He noticed that certain colors corresponded with subtle vibrations in the platform. Certain flows of light seemed to respond to his movement. It responds to you, the alien woman said softly, standing behind him. You feel it, do you not? Yes, he said. It reacts to my presence. Good, she replied. Now understand it further, not just with your mind, with your being. Listen. Elias closed his eyes and took another step onto the platform. He tried to feel the rhythm of the light beneath his feet. Slowly, he realized it was like a language, one of motion and energy. The rivers of light were not random. They were communicating, asking him to move in harmony with them. At first, he stumbled, stepping on the wrong spot and watching a pattern collapse. The alien woman merely watched, her smile gentle. Mistakes teach more than success, she said. Elias tried again, this time letting his instincts guide him. He felt a subtle vibration in the air, a pulse in the light beneath him, and moved accordingly. Step by step, he began to synchronize with the patterns. Colors shifted to warmer tones, glowing more brightly as if acknowledging his understanding. Hours, or maybe minutes passed. Time was strange here. Elias became aware of a rhythm that connected him, the platform, and the surrounding city. It was like a dance, a silent communication between life forms and him. For the first time, he understood what the alien meant by body. It was not shape or form. It was presence, awareness, and energy. The pattern beneath his feet glowed fully, forming a perfect circle of light around him. The alien woman nodded. You see, you perceive, you are not just looking, you are understanding. Most of your species would have given up. You persist. Elias smiled, feeling both relief and pride. I think I understand now. Good, she said. Next. She guided him to another part of the city, where the air was filled with floating spheres of light. Each sphere contained a tiny ecosystem, plants, small energy-based creatures, and flowing patterns of color. This is a lesson in empathy, she said. You must observe these life forms and understand their needs, their energy, their balance. Only then will you succeed. Elias knelt beside one sphere and watched. The tiny creatures within moved rhythmically, interacting with the plants and light. He noticed that when he focused his attention on one part of the ecosystem, the colors shifted and the creatures adjusted their movement. It was as if they were responding to his understanding. He spent time studying each sphere, learning how the energy flowed between life forms. Sometimes he had to gently shift a pattern of light or redirect a small creature to restore balance. Each time he succeeded, the sphere glowed brighter. The alien woman watched silently, letting him work. Humans are often quick to change their environment by force, she said finally. You, however, adjust gently, you respect life. That is why you are unique. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. This was more than a challenge, it was a lesson. He realized that humanity's greatest strength was not just intelligence, but adaptability, empathy, and creativity. After completing the spheres, she led him to a small garden filled with plants that emitted soft, musical tones when touched. This, she said, is your final test for today. Create harmony. Elias looked at the plants, unsure. At first, he touched a few, trying to make the tones match. The result was chaotic. Some plants glowed brightly, others dimmed. He tried again, listening carefully to the sounds, the flow of energy, and the reactions of the other plants. Slowly, he began to understand the rhythm. He moved with intention, letting the music flow naturally. The plants responded, forming a gentle, harmonious melody. Colors shifted across the garden, creating a beautiful visual symphony. The alien woman clapped softly, smiling. You see. Observation, understanding, patience, these are the ways of life. Elias exhaled, feeling exhausted but exhilarated. I never imagined I could do something like this. You did not imagine because you limited yourself, she said. Humans often see barriers where there are none. You see, you adapt, you succeed. For the first time, Elias felt the alien admiration for humanity, not for strength or technology, but for the human mind, the human heart. The qualities that had allowed them to reach the stars, the curiosity, the empathy, the creativity, were what impressed this alien species. As the suns began to dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the city, the alien woman turned to him. You have done well today. Rest now. Tomorrow the real learning begins. You will meet others and your understanding will be tested further. Elias nodded, watching as she glided away, her figure glowing softly in the evening light. He felt a sense of wonder, excitement, and anticipation. This was not just exploration. This was a journey of understanding, a chance to see life and humanity from a completely new perspective. He sat quietly, absorbing everything. The city shimmered around him, alive with light and energy. He realized that the universe was far more complex than he had ever imagined. And yet, humanity had something unique to offer, something that even advanced alien species admired. As night fell on Lyrana 5, the floating lights of the city danced like stars brought down to the ground. Elias closed his eyes, feeling the rhythm of life all around him. Tomorrow he would learn more. Tomorrow he would continue the test. And he knew deep in his heart that humanity had a place in this vast, mysterious universe. If only they could see themselves clearly, as he had begun to see the alien world today. The morning light on Lyrana 5 was soft and green, filtered through the crystalline towers of the city. Elias awoke on a platform cushioned by soft, glowing moss. The alien woman from the previous day, whom he had begun to think of simply as the guide, was already waiting. Her presence seemed to light the space, calm and radiant. "Today," she said, "you will meet others of my kind. Not all think as I do. You will learn to understand multiple perspectives. You must listen, observe, and adapt." Elias rose and followed her through winding bridges of light. He noticed that every step he took seemed to leave faint, glowing footprints which faded slowly behind him. The city itself seemed alive, responding to their passage. They entered a large hall, circular in shape, with walls that shimmered like liquid. Inside were beings of various forms. Some resembled his guide, tall and luminous, while others had wider bodies with flowing energy patterns. Some floated above the ground, while others moved on multiple limbs. Yet all of them had the same glow in their eyes, the same intelligence. "Greetings, human," one of them said, its voice deep and harmonic. The sound resonated in Elias' chest, making him feel both small and important at the same time. Elias bowed slightly, a gesture he had learned from studying human diplomacy. "Greetings, I am Dr. Elias Vance. I come in peace." The guide smiled. "Peace is assumed here, understanding is earned." The beings surrounded him, and Elias felt a surge of excitement and nervousness. Unlike the previous day, he was not alone with just one alien. Now he had to navigate a room of many minds, each with subtle differences in communication, energy, and expression. One of the aliens extended a glowing tendril toward him. "Observe," it said. Suddenly the walls shifted, forming intricate patterns of light. Shapes moved and merged, forming sequences that resembled a language, but it was not written or spoken. It was felt. "This is the first task," said the guide. "Interpret the meaning of the patterns, work with them. Do not guess, listen with your mind and heart." Elias took a deep breath. At first he felt overwhelmed. The patterns were constantly changing, responding to his presence and the energy of the other beings. He closed his eyes, focusing on the subtle vibrations in the air, the rhythm of the glowing floor beneath him, and the faint currents of energy flowing from the aliens. He began to notice repetition in the patterns. Certain shapes corresponded to concepts: harmony, balance, cooperation. Others indicated caution or curiosity. Slowly he moved, responding to the sequences with small gestures, raising a hand, leaning forward, or adjusting his posture. The patterns shifted accordingly. The alien woman watched silently. "Good. You are learning to communicate without words. Most humans would fail here. You succeed because you listen." Elias felt a sense of calm, like his mind was expanding. He realized that communication was not just about words or gestures. It was about presence, awareness, and connection. After several minutes, the patterns converged into a single, radiant shape, a circle of light that pulsed in perfect rhythm. The aliens around him nodded, their glowing eyes expressing approval. Elias smiled. He had passed the first part of today's challenge. "Now," said the guide, "you must work together with us to create something new." From above, small spheres of energy floated down, each containing a miniature ecosystem similar to those he had worked with the day before. But this time, there were more of them, and each was more complex. Some spheres had plants that sang in delicate harmonies. Others had creatures that moved in coordinated patterns, forming living shapes. "You must restore balance," said one of the aliens. "But this time it is not just your mind. You must use collaboration, creativity, and intuition. You are part of a greater mind now." Elias hesitated at first. It was daunting. He was only one human among many powerful aliens. But then he remembered what his guide had said. Humans excel in curiosity, adaptability, and creative thinking. Perhaps these qualities could help him now. He knelt beside a sphere that contained tiny luminous creatures moving erratically. The plants in the sphere were drooping, and the flow of light was uneven. He studied the creatures and plants, noticing that each action had a ripple effect. When he adjusted the flow of light gently, the creatures responded positively. A nearby alien watched him closely. You approach gently yet effectively. Most species would try to control. You adapt. Elias nodded, focusing on the next sphere. Each one required a different approach. Some needed precision, others empathy. Some needed him to anticipate the creatures' reactions rather than forcing them. Slowly, he began to understand the unspoken rules. Life is interconnected, and influence is subtle rather than forceful. After working through several spheres, the aliens nodded. You see, said the guide, humans have a unique strength. You think outside patterns, you improvise, you imagine solutions others cannot see. Elias felt pride, but also humility. He had learned much, yet there was still more to understand. Now, said the guide, a final task for today. You must create harmony with us, not just for observation. You must contribute to our collective energy. She gestured to a large pool of glowing water-like substance. The pool rippled gently, reflecting the towers and the floating aliens above. Elias stepped forward. The guide extended her hand, and he touched it, feeling a warm, tingling energy flow into him. Feel the rhythm, she said. Not with thought, with presence, not with sight. With understanding. Elias closed his eyes. He felt the pool's energy moving around him, interacting with the currents from the other aliens. It was chaotic at first, too many patterns to follow, but then he remembered what had guided him yesterday: observation, patience, and empathy. He synchronized his breathing with the energy around him. He adjusted his movements to flow with the currents. Gradually, he felt the chaos transform into harmony. The pool glowed brighter, the towers reflected shimmering patterns, and the aliens nodded in approval. You have done well, said the guide, smiling. You are not just a human among us. You are a participant in our energy, a contributor to our understanding. Elias opened his eyes and looked around. The city glowed more brightly than ever. He realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not just technology or numbers, but the ability to perceive, adapt, and contribute creatively. One of the floating aliens spoke. You bring balance where others cannot. Your species surprises us. Your potential is greater than you know. Elias smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He thought about his home, Earth, and the humans who had reached for the stars. Perhaps all the curiosity, imagination, and empathy that had driven humanity this far were exactly what would allow them to thrive among the stars. As the suns set on Lyrana 5, Elias and the guide walked back through the glowing city. The towers shimmered in soft green and violet, and the floating creatures hovered gently above the pathways. You will rest now, the guide said. Tomorrow brings a new challenge. Others will test your patience, your creativity, and your heart, but I believe you will succeed. Elias nodded, feeling both excitement and a quiet confidence. He had begun to understand this alien world, and more importantly, he had begun to understand what humanity could offer. This place, it is incredible, he said softly. I never imagined life could be so alive. The guide smiled. Life is alive everywhere, but humans you notice, you connect. That is why you will thrive. That is why we watch you with interest. Elias looked up at the stars beginning to shine in the twin green sky. The city hummed with energy around him, a living testament to what life could be. And he knew that the journey had only just begun. Tomorrow he would face new tests, new beings, and new challenges. But he also knew this. Humanity had something special to offer this universe, something no other species could replace. And for the first time, he felt truly ready to prove it. Word count. ~2, 530 white heavy check mark highlights of Part 3. Elias meets multiple aliens, navigating social and cultural challenges. Focus on HFY traits, empathy, creativity, observation, adaptability. Nonviolent, fully engaging, building suspense and wonder. Sets up Part 4, where Elias will face the alien city's greater mysteries and show humanity's unique impact on the universe. I can now write Part 4, ~2,500 words, where Elias faces the city's deeper mysteries, interspecies collaboration, and humanity's ingenuity shines brightest. Do you want me to continue with Part 4? Part 4, 2,500 words Kaleko or interesting Hunachea or third-person style Malekni Ha, or simple basic English ka absolutely. Here's Part 4 of your story in third person, simple English, around 2,500 words, focusing on mysteries, exploration, and humanity's ingenuity, fully nonviolent and engaging. Part 4. The city's hidden truths. The next morning, Elias awoke to a soft hum that filled the air. The glowing moss on his platform pulsed gently beneath him, as if greeting him. Outside, the city shimmered in pale green and violet, alive with subtle movement. Today, the guide had said, would bring greater challenges. "Follow me," she said, waiting at the entrance of the platform. Her glow was softer in the morning light, but her presence was as powerful as ever. "Today, you will explore deeper. The city holds knowledge, secrets, and truths few outsiders understand. You must see clearly, not only with your eyes, but with your mind and heart." Elias nodded, adjusting his exploration suit. He felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He had already learned much about this alien species and their culture of observation, harmony, and collaboration. But the words knowledge and secrets hinted at something more. They walked across bridges of light, the soft hum of energy pulsing beneath them. Each step Elias took seemed to resonate with the city itself. The buildings shimmered in response, shifting patterns of light that reflected his presence. He realized that the entire city was alive, not just the aliens, but the structures themselves. "This city was built for understanding," the guide explained as they moved through a corridor of flowing light. "Not for war, not for power, but for learning. Every structure, every pulse of energy, every creature exists to teach something. You must pay attention to all of it." Elias glanced around, taking in the subtle beauty of the place. The walls shifted gently as they walked, forming intricate shapes that resembled living art. Creatures of pure light floated alongside them, humming softly, and some of the towers seemed to lean slightly as they passed, like trees in a gentle wind. They arrived at a vast chamber at the center of the city. The ceiling arched high above, covered with glowing patterns that moved in slow, mesmerizing spirals. In the center was a large pool of liquid light. Its surface shimmered and reflected not only the city, but also subtle visions that seemed to come from another time or place. "This is the heart of knowledge," the guide said softly. "Many have come here to learn, but few truly understand. You must observe carefully, ask questions, listen not with words, but with presence." Elias stepped closer to the pool. As he gazed into the shimmering liquid, he saw shapes forming and dissolving. At first, they seemed random, twisting spirals of color, floating symbols, patterns that shifted like clouds. But then, slowly, he noticed meaning. The movements were like a story unfolding, one that was not spoken but felt. He reached out his hand, and the pool rippled gently in response. Colors shifted, forming sequences that reminded him of the patterns from the previous day, but now they were more complex, layered, and intricate. It was as if the city itself was speaking to him, teaching him directly. "Do you understand?" the guide asked. Elias hesitated. I think I can feel it, but it is different from words or equations. It is alive." The guide nodded. "Yes, knowledge here is not written or spoken. It is experienced. You feel it, you move with it, you understand it. That is why humans are fascinating. Your species can imagine. You can connect what you see with what you feel. That is a rare gift." Elias focused, letting his mind open to the energy of the pool. Slowly, he began to perceive patterns of flow, the rise and fall of energy, the interconnection of life, the rhythm of the city itself. Each pulse, each shimmer, each reflection told a part of the story. "Now," the guide said, "you must create your own understanding. Contribute, do not merely observe." Elias looked around. He was not sure how to begin. But then he remembered the lessons of the previous days: observation first, intuition second, gentle adaptation third. He let his instincts guide him and moved his hands slowly over the pool's surface. The liquid responded immediately. Colors shifted, forming shapes that mirrored his movements. Gradually, he realized that the pool was a canvas for thought and energy. By moving and thinking in harmony with it, he could create patterns that were both beautiful and meaningful. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time felt fluid in this chamber. Elias experimented with patterns, combining colors, shapes, and flows of energy. Each adjustment rippled outward, subtly affecting the city itself. He felt a strange exhilaration. He was not just observing knowledge, but contributing to it, leaving a mark in a way that was intangible yet real. The guide watched silently, her golden eyes glowing. "You see," she said at last, "humans do not merely copy or analyze. You create, you imagine, you connect what others see as separate. That is why your species is remarkable. Others would fail here trying to control. You succeed by understanding. Ilias felt a wave of pride, but also humility. This city, this alien species, this knowledge, he was only beginning to comprehend it. And yet he had a unique role to play because of what humans could do, imagine, connect, and create in ways others could not. Now, the guide said, stepping closer, the final test of today is collaboration. You must join with the city itself, with its beings, and with me. Together, we will form harmony. Ilias glanced at the floating aliens who had accompanied them. They glowed softly, waiting. He understood the task. Observation and adaptation were not enough. He needed to synchronize with others, to anticipate movements, and to contribute creatively. He stepped forward and extended his energy, focusing on the pool, the city, and the surrounding beings. He felt subtle feedback from each alien, a gentle push and pull of energy. At first, the currents clashed slightly, creating small disturbances. But then he remembered patience, empathy, and creativity, the traits his guide had praised. He adjusted, letting his movements flow with theirs. Slowly, the city responded. Colors in the towers shifted in harmony, the pool glowed brightly, and the floating creatures of energy hummed in perfect rhythm. Ilias felt a thrill. For the first time, he was part of something far larger than himself, contributing to a living, breathing system of knowledge and life. "You have done well," the guide said. "Most outsiders fail at this stage. You have not only observed, but participated. You have contributed. You have created understanding. That is why humans are remarkable." Ilias exhaled, feeling both exhaustion and exhilaration. He had learned more in these few days than he had in years of study on Earth, and yet he sensed there was still more. The city had layers he could not yet perceive, secrets hidden even from its own inhabitants. "Tomorrow," the guide continued, "you will face the greatest lesson yet. You will learn what humanity can truly offer this galaxy, but for now, rest and reflect. Your mind is ready, but your heart must also be open." Ilias nodded, staring into the pool one last time. The shapes shifted and danced, telling stories of life, connection, and harmony. He felt a deep understanding that he could not yet articulate, an awareness that humanity's greatest contribution might not be machines or technology, but imagination, empathy, and creativity. As he lay down to rest, the floating creatures hovered above him, emitting gentle tones that lulled him into a peaceful sleep. He dreamed of cities made of light, of flowing energy, of beings who communicated through presence rather than words. And in his dream, he felt humanity's role clearly, to explore, understand, and connect, not to conquer, but to contribute. When he awoke, the suns were high, casting shifting patterns across the towers. He felt renewed, ready for the next challenge. The guide waited, her golden eyes warm and inviting. "Today you have seen," she said, "what is possible when one truly observes, understands, and participates. Tomorrow you will see what is possible when humanity meets the universe not with fear, but with openness and imagination." Ilias smiled. He was ready. For the first time, he felt not just as a visitor on Lyrana 5, but as a participant in the ongoing story of the galaxy, a story that humans could shape with their minds, their hearts, and their boundless curiosity.